What is going on, everybody? Crypto Daddy's back here with our second video. I apologize on the delay. I know we owed you a video and I was hoping to do an unboxing, but I did struggle a little bit with putting this together. Honestly, it was my first computer build, but I made it. So here's the current location of where my plotter and farmer is set. We're currently farming and plotting at the same time. And after I show you this part, I'm going to go into some of the settings and some of the things that I've been doing all week to really optimize and learn. And really just to give you guys some feedback on some things I've learned to hopefully help you in your journey. So here's the rig, right? We have the Be Quiet case. In addition, we have, as we showed you in the previous video, well, I guess I didn't, but we have just a basic graphics card. We have the fans. You can see the RAM here. I turned the LEDs off just to lessen the amount of light and energy. We have our NVMEs back here, the MP600, and we have another one right there, both 2 terabytes. Pretty happy with this case. It stays pretty cool. It has a side cover that I keep on it. I did take it off for this video just in case, the cat may come in here. Don't want her jumping inside of this thing or touching that fan. She likes to touch things as a cat. And if you can't tell, there's no monitor attached to this thing. So I have this set up with Windows and we remote desktop into it with Chrome. So if you don't know what Chrome remote desktop is, Google it. You can download it. All you have to do is download Chrome, add on the Chrome remote desktop, and you're good to go. Alright, so now I'm switched over to my desktop and I'm going to show you guys me remoted into my Chia plotter as well as the farmer all in one. So if you can see here, right now I have a total of 3.5 terabytes in plots, total of 36 plots. And first thing I want to say is if you're going to start plotting or you're new to it, I came into this thinking, okay, I'm going to try out the GUI. I know a lot of people said, hey, the GUI's not that well. I spent a lot of time this week, number one, trying to figure out how to make my system more efficient. And I did a lot of math, My goal was that I tried to reduce the amount of parallel phase ones while plotting in parallel. So an example is that, based on my maximum storage capacity on my NVMe drives, I typically like to run about 3 or 4 in parallel for phase 1. So as an example, I would go into my plotter here, right? I'd go add plot and I click on plot parallel, and I figured I would say, okay, I want to do, let's say I just want this thing to run all day. So I'd put it to 24 and I'd say, okay, for 2.5 hours to complete phase 1. So I was putting a delay of 60 or 90. So by putting this delay, I pretty much can limit the amount of phase 1 plots that I'd be running at one time. And I was messing around with this and I noticed that, hey, when I did a 90-minute delay, I was doing about 2, maybe there was a time where there was a third plot in phase 1 right before the one of the plots would go to phase 2, and I was getting a decent plot time. When I started lowering it, obviously it increased. So I went from being able to do it at 6.5 hours to over 8, sometimes 9 hours. Again, I was totally just testing this out, right? And this is what I would do. I'd put it like 24, maybe 18 or 12, depending on how long I wanted to test it for. And I was messing with this delay. So what I would suggest is go into your logs. There's a couple good videos on how to use PowerShell. You can go into PowerShell, you can install a couple things that people have, and you can see some printouts of your logs. A couple other things you can do. I also started using Chia plot status. I'll put a link in the description below. So if you open this up, it'll tell you, number one, all the dead ones that you had. So I'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to hide everything here. Where is it? Here we go. Here's my healthy plots, right? Hide finished will show we'll hide all the finished ones that you just did. So let's go here. Let's go to started. So we're gonna go to the right a little bit. So you can see on some of these days, on the 18th, I was pumping these out. The 19th, not so much. Now let's keep going. So if we start looking, my total time, this is the first one I did, 6.5 hours, right? As I start playing around with it, okay, you know, it's getting better. And then it starts getting worse as I'm increasing. So I'm still playing around now. I'm running about 4 threads and I'm doing about 60 to 90 minutes just testing it out. We can see here all my phase 1s, right? So now I can see that, hey, phase 1, the different times. So maybe I incorrectly stated. Well, here's phase 1, 2 hour, 15 minutes. So it ranged. So I was getting about 2 hours to almost 4 hours for phase 1. So you have to do some math and figure out. I made a really crude Excel file that helped me kind of figure out how many I could be running in parallel on phase 1. Maybe in a different video I'll release that. I just would like to clean it up just a little bit. But that would be my suggestion. Transfer this, you know, try to get your average of some of these, turn that into minutes, and then figure out, you know, with a delay, how many you could what the maximum you can run with that delay in phase 1. And that's what I'm basing it off of. Maybe this is incorrect. I'm still testing. One of the other things that I did immediately off the bat is when I started, I port forwarded to port 8444. So that allowed me to sync much faster because it was syncing very slow. You have to do this in your router, and then in addition, I like to go into my firewall by just typing in firewall. I go to inbound rules, and you just go new inbound rule, right? I do this, get a port, next. I like to do TCP and UDP, so I'll do this one for TCP. Just type 8444, go to next, allow the connection, continue, put a name, done. Do it again and do it for that other option, and now you have allowed that port to go through your Windows firewall. But you're gonna have to make sure you do this on your router, and I do it on my phone with my router, and I'm not gonna show it in this video because everybody has different routers. So that is what is suggested for that. So if you are having problems syncing and it's taking a while, you're gonna want to do that. So one of the next things I want to talk about is, obviously I have not received any blocks, so I'm a little, you know, my goal right now is that we are trying to optimize as much as we can in hopes for when pooling comes out, I'm ready to go and we could just start blasting through some new plots when that happens. But right now it's just a week of testing. You know, I'm going to continue doing this test and farming plots until pooling comes out. We don't really know when that's going to happen, but it's supposed to happen within, you know, we were told this month. In addition to that, if you're new, trying to start farming Chia, don't be like me and just start using the GUI. So as I started getting used to plotting, I started up easy, like doing 90-minute delays, maybe a little bit higher. You know, I was doing all right, trying to see how fast my system does it, really benchmarking it. I started getting a little more adventurous and lowering my delays. And I noticed when I started doing that, I was having problems. My GUI, which is it's notorious for failing. I'll get this thing that says connecting to wallet, and then I'll go on my processes to see like, hey, is there something happening in the background here? And I'll notice nothing's happening, meaning I just lost, like, I had 9 plots in parallel running for hours, and I've lost it multiple times, which, you know, this happened yesterday when I was running quite a bit, and I just decided, you know what, I don't want to waste any more time just trying with this GUI. So that is my tip. There's many options you can use. I decided that I'm going to end up using Swar Chia Plot Manager. I will put this in the description, but what this is basically a Python version program that will create your plot files. Now don't be discouraged, it's really easy to set this up, and there's some good advantages to it. Like if you close this window, your plots are still going to continue. As I was messing with it earlier, I was making some changes and I stopped or I updated the changes, and my plot, the one plot that I had running just for test was still going, which was awesome, and it's still going right now. You can read through everything. I highly suggest just kind of read through it a little bit. You know, if you're not good at coding or not experienced with it, don't be scared. You know, just read through it and follow instructions. There's some really good videos on how to get through this. I highly suggest just going on YouTube and looking up Chia, Sword Chia Plot Manager. There's some really good videos that help me get through it as well. You know, I would pay close attention to this installation piece. Once you install Python, just follow some of these steps. And if you need some help, post in the description or post in the comments, and I'll see if I can assist. It took me about 30 minutes to get everything set up, and if there are more questions, maybe I'll make a separate video on it. So right now I'm going to be testing this. So I will show right here. So here's my PowerShell. So you can see I have my one that I call it the MP600. I'm running it with 4 threads. It's about 16% done. And now in my settings are, let's see, my settings are set to, okay. So I'm letting it run max concurrent 16, staggering them for 60 minutes. I'm doing max for phase 1 3, and a couple other settings down here. So we're going to see what happens, and I'm also giving it 4 threads. So one of the things that I'm doing different is I had an 860 EVO SSD just laying around for one of my previous computers. So I decided that I want to use that as what is called a staging drive. So pretty much what happens with a staging drive is, let's pull this up here. So my plots get generated on this. I call it new volume. I need to rename this, but my plots are getting generated on my NVMe. When they're done being created, usually I would have it go over to my EasyStore external hard drive. It would take about 10-15 minutes to transfer that one file, or the one plot, excuse me. Instead, and when that happens, it holds up the plotter for about 10 or 15 minutes until it could start the next plot. So I read online, did some research. I actually am now having my plotter drop that file into this SSD, which we call the staging SSD temp evo. It's going to take like 2 minutes to transfer that file onto this evo. I mean, it's not that big. The second it drops and it's completed, it's going to go into this EasyStore. It's going to store it right with the rest of my plots here. And how I'm doing that is I'm using a PowerShell file that is checking every 30 seconds. A plot file appears in this new temp evo folder or directory within the folder here, staging. If something shows up here, it's going to execute and cut and move that file, or cut that file to my EasyStore with the rest of my Chia plots. So I'm testing this out. I mean, there's only 465 gigs on this thing, but there really shouldn't be more than one plot file on here at a time anyways, because I'll be staggering all of these. Now, where I found the code to do this is, I'm going to link this in my thread, in the description here, is this Reddit post right here. There's quite a bit. There's some useful information in here. And then here's the script right here. So what you have to do is just, this is where your SSD buffer folder is, and then this is your farming folder. And all I did was, in the settings of my plotter, I made the final destination this temp evo file. So when the plotting is done, it moves the file to temp evo, and then this program moves it over to EasyStore. So I'm pretty excited to see how well this works. Maybe it won't work since this thing's so small. Maybe it'll just crash. I don't know. Again, we're just testing, and I'm trying to give you guys as much information as I can because I'm still learning. I've been spending quite a lot of time over the past week just learning and trying to gather as much as I can. So with that, this is all I have for this video right now. I hope you guys can leave a like, maybe a comment, and a subscription if you're new here. I'm going to keep trying to make these videos as often as I can to post our progress on our Chia journey. And I hope you guys enjoy it and have a good night.